Hi friends, welcome to Ajay Automation channel. In this video, let's quickly see about 30 important real-time scenario-based manual testing interview questions. Okay, and I have few automation questions as well. So these questions are combined from multiple manual and automation testing real interviews. And why these real-time scenario-based questions are very important because it shows how much hands-on experience we have working in software testing industry. That is, it proves you have really worked in real-time testing projects and not coming from any other background. So candidates from another technology like DevOps or networking or development who is trying to move into testing industry can really make use of this video. So please do watch the whole video. This video is really going to help for your upcoming interview. So let's quickly start. And the first question is, assume your application is having 500 total test cases. How do you make sure all these test cases are tested after production deployments? So testing all the test cases is literally impossible. So what do we do here is we start by testing our regression test suite and make sure big business critical test cases are working fine. So once we complete regression testing and if we have enough time and bandwidth, we go for validating low priority and UI test cases. Okay, so because testing all the test cases after each and every production deployments is literally impossible, so we validate the high priority test cases and make sure our application's major functionality is working fine. And if you have automation test suite available for all the test cases, you can explain that scenario also to the interviewer. Okay, so let's see the next question. So how long you will perform smoke test and when do you perform smoke test and what are the test cases you cover as part of smoke testing? So usually for smoke test we take around 20 to 30 minutes and smoke test is performed immediately whenever a new build is given for testing. Okay, so what do we test as part of smoke test? We test the P0 test cases and make sure critical features are tested. That is, we test one end-to-end flow as part of smoke testing. Okay, and we don't take more than 20 to 30 minutes for performing smoke test. Okay, so the next question is, dev is providing tickets to test very late in the sprint regularly. What will you do here? Okay, so many projects face this issue. We might get tickets to test very late in the sprint. So what do? We take the high priority tickets early and we complete testing those high priority tickets. Okay, so to make sure the same issue is not happening again, what can we do is we can talk about this issue in our sprint retrospective meeting and make sure the same issue is not happening again. So our managers and business owners might talk to development team and bring a solution to this issue. So we can talk about this issue in the sprint retrospective meeting. Okay. So the next question is, you said you are responsible for performing automation as well. So when do you perform manual and when do you create automation scripts? So many candidates say they are responsible for creating automation scripts as well. So we all work in agile model now. So when do you perform manual and when do you perform automation scripts? So this is a tricky question. Okay, so usually at the start of the sprint we create test cases. Okay, and then parallelly we execute test cases whenever the ticket is ready for testing, and we start automation in the middle of the sprint or at the end of the sprint. Okay, we usually don't start automation in the start of the sprint. In the start of the sprint we start creating test cases and we execute test cases whenever a ticket is ready to test. So for automation we start in the middle of the sprint or at the end of the sprint. For new user stories you are responsible for performing manual testing, and for those new user stories also you are responsible for performing automation. Whenever the user story does not have any major defects, you can start creating automation scripts also for the new user stories. Okay, so the answer here is we start automation in the middle or at the end of the sprint, and we do in sprint automation as well. Okay, for the new user stories. So let's see the next question. What will you do when you identify a blocker issue? So this question has been asked in many interviews. So what will we do? Initially, we should analyze the network logs or application logs and check what kind of issue it is, whether it is a DB issue or whether it is a server side issue, and immediately create a critical priority ticket in your management tool, test management tool or project management tool like Jira. Attach logs and screenshots and also inform the team through mail or Teams. Okay, not only informing, we have to follow up till closure of that particular major defect, and once that defect is fixed and moved to production or staging, you are responsible for performing one round of regression test also. So all these things you have to answer in this question. Okay, so let's see the next question. So what will you do when requirements change continuously and you have very less time to complete newly added requirements testing? So this is one common scenario we face nowadays. So requirements keep on changing at the last moment, and what we can do is connect with our business owner and see why requirements have been modified and get clear functional knowledge about the newly added requirement. Okay, that will be helpful for us to create test cases, and notify about the timeline issue to your business owners and internal team managers. Because we have very less time for testing, we might leave any test cases or test scenarios for validation. So it is very important for us to notify about the timeline issue to the internal team members and business owners. Okay, and please do make sure critical user stories or requirements are tested and delivered on time in this scenario. So low priority tickets can be validated later, but we have to make sure critical user stories are tested and delivered on time. Okay, so let's see the next question. What are the different types of testing you perform in your project? They are not asking about what different types of testing are present, what different types of testing you are performing in your project. So I am performing like smoke, regression, integration, usability, localization, API, database, performance testing. So you can explain whatever types of testing you are performing in your current project. So a defect is identified in production, and how will you make sure the same defect is not occurring again? So a defect is identified because it's a QMS. So it has been identified in production. How will you make sure the same defect is not occurring again in production? Yes, we can add that test case or test scenario to our regression test suite and make sure the same defect is not occurring again. Okay. So what process or procedure you follow for performing manual testing? This is an important interview question. So in the beginning, what do? User stories get prioritized in the sprint planning meeting, and once the sprint is started, we start creating test cases, and test cases will be reviewed by our test lead. Okay, so if you have any clarification, raise any to the business owners, and you can start test execution once the tickets are ready to test. So then we will raise defects and get it fixed, and finally we retest the reported defects and move the tickets to business review, and the business testing is done and the ticket status is moved to done and finally closed. Okay, so this is the procedure or process we follow for performing manual testing. So what type of software development model you are working on and why it is useful? So as you know, many projects are now following agile software development lifecycle model, because agile model focuses on rapid delivery of the working software. Okay, so customer gets a chance to view the working software from start of the project to the end of the project. Okay, and if he has any feedback, it gets addressed immediately. We won't wait till the end of the project. Okay, also testing gets started in the beginning of the project in agile SDLC. Okay, it focuses on continuous improvement. This is an important interview question. Okay, agile is a popular software development lifecycle model used in many projects because it's very successful. Okay, so what strategy you are following for designing test cases? This is a popular interview question. For designing test cases, we can follow techniques like equivalence, partitioning, boundary value analysis, decision table testing, and state transition technique. Okay, this improves our test coverage. Okay, this improves our test coverage like in positive way and in negative way also. We should write test cases in a positive manner. Also, as a tester, we should focus on writing test cases more in a negative manner. Okay, so these techniques helps us to improve our test coverage. And why is localization testing important or necessary? So localization testing is a popular testing technique nowadays. Okay, because the website being developed not only works in the home country, it works in multiple countries. Okay, see, we have to test our website in multiple languages. We have to test the currencies in multiple countries. Okay, so for India it's rupees, and for UK and US it's US dollars. Okay, so we have to test the websites in multiple languages and multiple currencies, date and time formatting, everything has to be checked. Okay, so localization testing verifies an application's functionality and usability in specific region. Okay, and automating every test cases is possible or not? That is 100% automation is possible or not? Definitely 100% automation is not possible. Okay, there might be few test cases in your project where automation is not possible or impossible. Okay, So be careful in answering this question, because 100% is automation is not possible in many projects. Okay, out of 10, 9 or 8 projects, 100% automation is not possible. Okay, so we depend on manual testing for those test cases where automation is not possible. Okay, let's see the next question. Why regression testing is performed and what are the advantages? This is an important interview question. Regression testing is performed when new functionality is added to the existing application. Consider a new feature is added to your website. To make sure our existing test cases are also working fine, we perform regression testing. Okay, let's see the next question. So consider you are testing WhatsApp Messenger, and what are the major test cases you will cover. I've seen in many interviews nowadays, interviewer ask about writing test cases to WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram and Google, etc. So please do prepare test cases before attending interview. It will be really useful. Okay, so for WhatsApp Messenger or Facebook, initially start by telling what are the major test cases for the app, like verify app installation is successful, verify user is able to log in successfully with phone number and valid OTP, verify user is not able to log in with invalid OTP, and then once app is logged in, so you can talk about the major scenarios like verify message is delivered, verify video file attachment is successful and delivered successfully. Okay, talk about UI related test cases at last while explaining test cases. Okay, initially talk about major scenarios and then come to UI related scenarios like accessibility scenarios, bold text scenarios, etc. Okay, so this is an important interview question, so please do read all the test cases here. And next question is, can you explain some test cases to test your login page? Okay, this is also an popular interview question, so please do read all the test cases. So initial test case is to launch, verify application is launched successfully, and then verify user is able to log in with different username and password combination like valid and invalid data. So valid username, valid password, invalid username, invalid password, and you can write as many combinations as you can. And one important test case is password should be masked, and verify account lock scenarios, verify character length, verify keyboard scenarios like tabbing and enter key validations. Okay, so verify page is compatible with multiple OS and multiple browsers, verify different URL combinations. So launch the login page with HTTP and without HTTP, with www, etc. These are some of the URL combinations you can test the app with. Okay, and next question is, can you explain some test cases to test a search functionality? Almost all the website have search boxes. Okay, this is also an important interview question. So initial test case is to verify search results are displayed successfully on entering valid search data. Enter valid data and search results should be successful. That is the important test case. Okay, then next test case is verify no results found message on entering invalid test data. Okay, verify search options are shown when you enter a search keyword. Okay, verify search results are displayed when users select options from search options. Suppose when you type something, some options will be displayed, right? When we select that option also, search results should be displayed. Okay, verify keyboard validations like enter key tabbing, and verify character length in the search box. So these are some important test cases. Then you can talk about UI test cases like placeholder, etc. Okay, and next question is, consider you are testing an e-commerce applications that sells and deliver products. What are the major test cases you are going to cover here? Kindly note here, what they are asking, what are the major test cases you are cover here. So you don't have to talk about much negative scenarios here. Talk about the end-to-end flow here, like how we are going to do a smoke test. Okay, initial test case is to launch an application, then log in and verify user is landed in dashboard, and then verify user is able to search products and add to cart, and then you verify user is able to apply coupon and checkout and proceed to payment page successfully, and verify user is able to complete payment, and verify order status is shown as placed, and verify user is able to log out successfully. Here I am talking about only end-to-end case. I am not talking about negative scenarios like validating error messages, UI color, text button color, etc. Okay, I'm just talking about end-to-end flow from login to logout. Okay, because they have asked only the major test cases here. I think more than 12 to 13 test cases are there. This is more than enough to explain in an interview. Okay, and next question is, can you explain what is acceptance criteria? So if you are using Jira or any other project management tools, you would have seen a text called acceptance criteria in top of your requirement. Okay, it means this below set of requirements should be met for this user story to be considered completed. So this acceptance criteria will be set by your business owner. Consider you are developing a login page, okay, and acceptance criteria will be mentioned like the login page should contain username and password field with login button. Each field should accept 30 characters. Okay, all these criteria should be tested and it should be working fine. Then only the business owner will accept the ticket and move to done status and close the ticket. Okay, this is known as acceptance criteria. So let's see the next question. Consider you have joined a new project and manager asks you to implement test process. What will you do here? Okay, so if the manager is asking to create a new test process, what we have to do is clearly define the test objectives, like define the test scope, what are you going to test in this application, and define the test coverage and test priority. Okay, you have to implement thorough test case review process to make sure all the scenarios are covered, and implement risk-based testing, and you have to maintain proper test data management. Okay, and make sure you are automating repetitive test cases to avoid unnecessary manual testing also. Okay, so these are some of the major things you can do if someone asks you to implement test process. Okay, so let's see the next question. Without proper documentation, how will you test or design test cases? Okay, so we have to understand the entire scope of the project here and research for similar features and design test cases accordingly. Okay, and what else we can do is connect with your business owners and get an idea of what is their expectation, and then we can start designing test cases. Okay, once you get an mock images or wireframes from the business, you can enhance your already developed test cases. Okay, this is how without proper documentation we can start creating test cases. Okay, let's see the next question. You found a defect and developer says it's not a defect. What will you do here? This is a funny question. So we found a defect and the developer started saying it's not a defect, or he is not going to fix it because he feels it's not a defect. Okay, if you still feel you have clarification, then you have to confirm with your business owner. So many testers I have seen, they will just close the defect because development confirmation, he is confirmed that it's not a defect. But if you still feel you have clarification, you have to take it to the business and confirm it with them. Okay, because they are the final owners. Okay, so we basically have to get confirmation from them. And how sprint velocity is calculated, this is recently asked in many interviews. Okay, so if sprint 1 has 20 story points and sprint 2 has 21 story points and sprint 3 has 40 story points, how we can calculate sprint velocity is add these overall story points and divide by the total number of sprint, that is 20 plus 21 plus 40 divided by 3. So 27 is the sprint velocity here. Okay, so next question is why agile model is useful and what are the benefits you see in agile software development model. So it's useful because we deliver the software frequently and customer teams gets a chance to review the software every 2 or 3 weeks, so they can provide their feedbacks and make changes very quickly. Okay, so in other models testing is done at the end of the trade, which has led to many issues. That's why agile model is a successful model in our current software testing industry or development industry as well. So how do you make sure applications performance is good when there is a large user load? So you can talk about how we are doing performance testing here. So many projects use JMeter and many projects use Google Search Console for capturing performance metrics. So if you are doing it sprint wise, you can explain to the interviewer that we are capturing performance metrics every sprint wise, that is after production deployment we do performance testing as well and make sure our application performance is stable. Okay, and the next question is how do you validate or what do you validate as part of API testing? Okay, as part of API testing we validate status codes and verify whether the API returns successful status codes like 200, and we perform data validation testing, like we verify the content of the body and we validate against the expected values here, and we also check for response time and we check the content type and content length as part of header verification as well. Okay, so these are some of the things we validate as part of API testing. And why do you think automation testing is necessary? Because automation testing saves cost and saves lot of manual effort. We automate repetitive test cases so that manual testing is avoided here, which will save a lot amount of cost here. Okay, and next question is what are the different fields or components in a test case template or in Jira? Okay, the different components like test case description, test steps, actual and expected results, severity, test data, status, date tested, and tester name. These are some of the components in a test case template or in Jira. So many of us are creating test cases in Jira instead of Excel, right? These are the components we can add. Okay. And next question is, what are the different fields, components, or a user story goes through in a test management tools like Jira? That is, from start to the end, you have to explain the different components a user story goes through in your test management tool. So initially, as you know, it will be in open state and then it will be assigned to the developer. So developer moves to in progress state. Once development is done, it moves to development done status. Okay, and then it will move to in code review status. One code review done, it will be resolved and move to testing state. Okay, what will we do? We will move it to in verification state and we will reopen if it is not working fine, or if it is working fine, we will move the ticket to business review and they will validate the ticket and move it to done status, and finally the scrum master or any business owner will close the ticket. So these are the different components a user story goes through in a tool like Jira. Okay, the last question is, explain about your automation test process. So where do you start test scripting to how do you merge the code to Git repo? You have to explain about the entire process. Initially we read the requirements or test cases and we start creating test scripts, and once we create test scripts we commit the changes to Git and code review is completed, and we will create a PR and merge the changes to master branch, and we verify the logs in Bamboo or Jenkins pipeline as well. This is the automation test processes many of the projects are maintaining. Okay, so we have come to the end of today's video. I hope this video will be really useful for your upcoming interviews. So please do subscribe our channel Ajay Automates and watch out for more testing training and interview preparation related videos. So thank you again. Take care. See you next time. Bye.